Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Authentic You podcast. Today, I want to talk about an important topic for sensitives, neurodivergents, empaths around discernment, boundaries, healthy anger, and also how this can tie in with your business and energy leaks and money leaks around that. So stay tuned because I have an incredible episode coming. So let's dive in. First thing I want to mention is the pattern that can happen when we go through tapping into our healthy anger. So let me know, are you somebody who for a long time was not angry? You didn't even think that anger was a trait in you that you had. You might have been quite triggered by other people's anger. You might have thought that angry people were wrong and they shouldn't be that way. And then you started to realize through this process that actually a very, very long time ago, you were told you shouldn't be angry. As a child, you were told, not to have the tantrum, good girls should be seen and not heard, and all of the things. And you deeply push that anger down. And what starts to happen through the first stage of this process and this journey is just like a jack in the box, right? Anything that you push down, you say is not acceptable, anything that is, a shadow in you that you push down is going to eventually pop up. And as sensitive women, when we do this healing, when we heal these people pleasing patterns and we do that shadow work and we do that inner child work and all of the things, what we find starts to happen is that healthy anger will start to come out and will start to come up, especially like hands up if you are perimenopausal, right? The hormones start to change, the hormones start to kick in, and this can really, especially in that luteal phase, can really bring that part to the surface. And this is a completely normal and natural part of the healing process. And what we have to remember is that this part was pushed down such a long time ago. I don't know about you, but for me, I would say my anger was probably pushed down for around 30 years of my life. That is a long time to have something in me that was not expressed and was pushed down and was made wrong all that time. So when I started to heal that and allow those parts of me to resurface, of course, those parts didn't know how to be. They didn't know how to be. And this led to some situations that I'm not proud of where I maybe expressed my anger in an unhealthy way. Friend and I talk about this as the divine hand. The divine hand didn't come over the mouth to go, just pause between stimulus and response. The anger just came out. And this is also where we see that like autistic burnout, the rage, PMDD, and all these things as well. And there is nothing wrong with that. That is a normal part of the process because the anger doesn't know yet what that healthy expression looks like. Okay. So I'm not excusing like, random outbursts. Like we do have to have that emotional intelligence, but there will be times, right, where brain does not engage, anger comes out. So this was me. And then what I started to notice, and I see this pattern in my clients as well, as they reclaim their power and they reclaim their gifts, they start to see this momentum, this alignment in their business. They start to see like receiving, they start to meet, their aligned tribe and all the things. What starts to happen through the embodiment of this healthy anger is a truth speaking also comes out, right? And this is the Authentic You podcast. So, of course, we're going to talk about that today as well. And what happens is that in this stage, we start to speak our truth to people that we might not have spoken it to before. And sometimes that goes really well. So an example of this I have maybe 3 friendships that I can think of where I can speak my truth. That person will take that on board and will respond to that in a really conscious way. And that person can also speak their truth to me. We can have an open, conscious conversation about it. But when this happens, what will also happen is you will learn the gift of discernment. You will learn the gift of discernment about when not to show your full, authentic self, your vulnerabilities, your truth speaking to others as well. And what I'm seeing happen right now, as so many women rise into their power and reclaim that healthy anger, is a second part to this. So firstly, it feels so good after all those years, right? And when I say all those years, I don't just mean in our lives, right? All of those hundreds and thousands of years of the suppression of the feminine, right? So it's not just us, it's generational, it's so much bigger, right, than just us, that suppression of the feminine. So when we actually, have the opportunity to open our voice, to speak our truth, like, it feels good, right? It feels good. It feels like a release, and we want to do it. And when we do it to the wrong audience or to the wrong person, this can then cause us actually more issues, and tying this into business and money and all the things, this can also start to create an energy leak for us as well. And this is where that power of discernment comes in. And something that I have had many examples happening in my life have been situations where I started to notice, let's say, amber flags, right? Not necessarily red flags, but little nudges that certain connections in my life didn't quite feel in alignment, right? There was these little nudges. And what this process of discernment has taught me, and this is why I'm sharing this here now for you, to help you to shortcut that process so that you don't end up with those energy leaks and entities and all the things that come as part of that. Because this is something I see very commonly in cosmic healing sessions as well with me. Whilst I absolutely love doing those cosmic healing sessions, so many women come to me to have those sessions for us to clear these really dark energies off that are blocking up their channel, blocking their field, blocking their receiving, blocking their business and all of the things, because they haven't had the discernment to act earlier on the intuitive nudges. Don't know why I said it like nudges. And this then causes them to open up to these big energetic problems. And whilst I love doing cosmic healing sessions, my deeper purpose is actually for you to not need them, or at least not need them as much, because you're not opening up to those dark energies coming in that we need to work on and clear off, because the discernment is happening sooner. So that is what I am passionate about in helping you, is to build that discernment, that sacred yes, that sacred no sooner. And then when you follow that, you'll spend less money coming to me for so many cosmic healing sessions. And I love doing them. And don't get me wrong, I love having them myself. Like when I have a shift and I'm not 100% perfect and I don't, you know, sometimes I'll make a mistake and go, oh, that was actually, no, I shouldn't have done that thing. Okay. I think I shared this last week's episode when I walked into a shop. I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have. Turn around. Okay. So that's the first part of that. Okay. That early discernment and nudges of what is out of alignment. The second part of this is because, and I have to keep remembering to take sips of got my lovely roasted dandelion root coffee today. Otherwise it will get cold. And so that feels nourishing today to bring that to the podcast today. So the other thing that happens is because you love growth and healing, right? Growth. If you're here, I imagine growth, personal development, self-awareness is probably one of your top strengths, right? And because you love that, what can sometimes happen, especially as, we've healed some of those people pleasing, over empathy patterns, is this little value of yours can just start to get overplayed in other ways. And what it can do is it can go, oh, maybe I'm responsible for telling someone when they've crossed that line. Maybe it is my gift to humanity. Doesn't that sound egotistical? It's my gift to humanity to tell you when you've done something wrong. Okay. So what can sometimes happen, and there's nothing wrong with this, but we just have to be aware of it. Okay. We just have to be aware of it so we can just go, is this a healthy expression of this thing or not? That's ultimately the question. Okay. Because what starts to happen is we can go, I have responsibility for this, for humanity, to tell people, to give opportunities for self awareness. Why would I not? Why would I not give people the opportunities to have self awareness about their own behavior and patterns? And maybe if I give them the opportunity for self awareness, maybe they'll take accountability. Maybe in some instances, I'll get an apology, right? And I want you to really stop and listen when I say this. It is not your responsibility to do that. Just because you can, just because you know the patterns, just because you are conscious, just because you are open to feedback and conscious connection, where you can have that conversation with each other, it does not mean that everyone else is. And this is where we start to see things go wrong. And these energy leaks coming in and this affecting your business, your money, and all of the things, okay? Even just taking up mental space in your head that needs to be for your creative space. And as sensitives and as intuitives, this becomes amplified, right? So what we have to remember is that other people's growth, unless they are paying us and they are a paid client, or if we are in a conscious relationship where we have that two-way, authentic, open conversation and both parties are willing to grow, that is a different thing. It is not our responsibility to awaken others that are not ready to be awakened, to, give people the chance to be accountable, give people the chance to change their behaviors. That is not your responsibility. And this will mess up. This is what I see. Like, I'm just shortcutting the process for you. And I'm actually saying, do this and book less sessions with me, right? Which I know sounds a little crazy, but this is the biggest pattern that I see. And I don't want you to keep having the sessions. I want you to sort this out, the root cause. And yes, there may be times where, when there's a big astrological event, like certainly for me, solstices, equinoxes, I need a bit of spiritual support around those times because I'm so sensitive to the shifts and the energies and the collective and everything. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But the bit that you can take ownership of and responsibility of is actually, where am I taking responsibility in terms of telling others that they've maybe crossed the line, or, giving them the opportunity for growth when it's not a paid client, where it's not a conscious, connected relationship. So what do we do instead? So as I said earlier, at the point, at the awareness of that nudge, that something is out of alignment, that is the opportunity for you to stop, put the phone down, do not respond, walk away, or, if it's a physical conversation, walk away. Okay? Pause, breathe, stop. And instead of saying, "Oh, that feels a bit out of alignment. I feel like a bit of a boundary of mine has been crossed here. Okay, I need to now communicate that boundary to the person." What needs to now happen is internally, okay, that internal conversation, which is, this person has now crossed a line. This is clearly out of alignment. This is not a space where I can be met with vulnerability. So, this is one of the things for me here as well, was that I came to the realization that in certain relationships, in certain connections, I couldn't be vulnerable. If I was vulnerable, it was used against me, or it was belittled, it was criticized, it was thrown back at me, right? And that is so hard because as sensitive, as neurospicy people, right? We're just like, hey, I'm just making book. This is me. And we kind of just naturally want to operate at that level of like, hey, this is me. And the expectation is that others meet us there. And then when we don't, that's like, hang on, wait a minute, I've just given you my open book. And you've just gone, yeah, I'm not going to read that book today. Okay. So this is that opportunity early on with that to be discerning. And the question to ask yourself here is, what does this teach me about how much access I actually give this person? What does this teach me about how much access I give this person now to my energy? And responding in a way that is neutral. In some instances, it's also okay not to respond. It's okay not to respond. It's okay to respond neutrally. It's okay to just grey rock it or say whatever it is that you need to say to keep the peace for you, knowing that that is not a safe space for you to be vulnerable. And what I see is when women do this, when they go, I felt out of alignment. My boundaries were crossed. What does this teach me about the access that I now give this person? Is this a safe relationship where I can be totally vulnerable? No, it's not. Is there a purpose to this relationship? So some of you might be watching this and thinking, oh, well, I've got this situation that I have to be in for X, Y, Z reasons because of my kids or because of my work or because of my community or, got this situation that I have to be in. And it's not in alignment and it's not a space that I can be vulnerable and it's not a safe space for me. Like, let me know if you're thinking that. And so this is then that opportunity to ask that question, what does this teach me about how much access I give to that person? And if if you've toe dipped, and likelihood is you have toe dipped, right, into going, here's my vulnerability, right? And that hasn't worked. That has made things worse, that has been used against you, that has been belittled, invalidated, all things, then that is your opportunity. Obviously, if it's not a purpose, if that connection does not serve a purpose for you in any way, and it's not something that is like part of something you have to some things we might have to do even short term, right? Then, if it's not that situation, if it's something that you can just move away from, or the question is, how do I just keep this surface level, purposeful, keep the peace, and then have this beautiful outlet where I know that my tribe have got me. They know, like, they've got me, I've got them. We can go to that deep level of vulnerability. That's the outlet for that. That's the authentic space that I want to really ramp that up. My time with my sacred time with myself, my sacred time with my tribe, and then this bit over here that I manage with those boundaries. And this, the earlier you have this nudge and you make this change, the less likely you are to pick up those dark energies, to have to come to me for sessions, and then move into where you're supposed to be in the alignment that you're supposed to be in as well. And linking this back to the beginning of this conversation about anger, if you don't do that, what will happen is you will receive what I call a universal slap. So I don't know about you, but I have had connections, relationships where I should have acted on the misalignment earlier. And because I didn't, the universe said, right, we're going to dramatically rip this from under your feet. Let me know if you've been through that. Because what will happen if you don't listen, you will be forced. And I've talked about this before, the feather, the brick, the dump truck, right? The feather is the nudge, the feather is the like, oh, there's a feather. That's nice and soft. Let's just course correct. Let's just move with that. Then comes the brick. It's like, wow, just felt that outburst of anger from that person. Or, oh, wow, yeah, my nervous system was really rattled then. And again, I just want to also just signpost this as well here. Like, if your nervous system is rattled by somebody and by a connection, just ask yourself whether that is also right for you, because this is the gaslighting that goes on in the personal development world and the spiritual community, which is like, it's just a trigger. You've just got to heal it. No, sometimes your nervous system is sensing danger, and that could be energetic danger. It doesn't have to be physical, although it could be. Sometimes it is energetic danger. Sometimes it is like, my nervous system feels really unsafe around this person because they are surrounded by dark energy. Or they have, which just comes hand in hand, this person has some very toxic behaviors. And this is what I'm feeling. I can't always know that. I can't always explain why. Okay. So back to the anger piece. Sometimes what will happen is if we don't respond to those white feather moments, then will come the brick, the dump truck. And sometimes those dump truck moments is that the universe will intervene. The person, what usually happens is the person will out themselves, and then it will trigger your anger and you might respond. And in your responding, that can push the person out. Okay. Sometimes this is all happening outside of conscious awareness. Sometimes your nervous system is going not safe and pushing it out of your field. And people feel this, right? People feel this and go, they feel that they're being pushed and they don't know why. This is where we meet people randomly on walks who'll go, look us up and down, and they hate us and they don't even know why, because it's so triggered by a light. Okay. Like your field, when everything is operating as it should, when you're clear, when you're following your sacred yes and your sacred no, your field will push stuff out. And that's what it's meant to do. That is your nervous system creating energetic safety. Okay. So if you are pushed to the point of explosion and this anger comes out and you're like, where did that come from? Sometimes that is just your nervous system responding and pushing that misalignment out of your field. So it's like, if you don't listen to the white feathers, don't listen to the brick, the dump truck is going to come and make you explode. Or the other thing that I see happen, and these also go hand in hand, is the person will out themselves. The person will out themselves in some way. So the behavior has always been there, but the last couple of years, stuff just cannot hide in this light. It cannot hide in this energy. And what we start to see is people outing themselves. I even had this happen literally last week. A very dark and demonic organization. You'll know who I'm talking about. Those of you that know, I can't mention on here, followed me on one of my social media accounts. And my videos are public on there. And they could have just silently followed me along and monitored me quietly. But as soon as they hit that follow button, of course, it notifies me. So I was notified that I was being monitored by this dark organization. And then I could just block them. So, things cannot hide at the moment. That could have even been a mistake. Because can't say too much on here, but because of the work that I do in the cosmic healing sessions, it undoes a lot of the harm that they've caused, especially to women. So that's why they come, that's why they monitor and they see what I'm doing. But yeah, they This could even happen accidentally. They fell on the follow key out of themselves. So I could block them. And that's it. Okay. So yeah, we have to, something like that, obviously, we don't know about until it gets outed. But some things we do know about, we do have the intuitive nudges. And if something, what I feel called to say to you here as well is if there's 10 things about a person, a situation, a place, if there are 10 things and if 9 of those are absolutely great and in alignment and one of them isn't, then just ask the question, like, is the one enough to actually outweigh all 9? I had a situation recently where I was working with a practitioner who ticked for a specific health thing, right? And they ticked all 9 boxes, but the 10th box, which I didn't see until the second time I went, this 10th box thing came up that was not in alignment. And I was like, And it was just it's a nudge. It's like, that's a bit, that's a bit. But then my brain was like, yeah, but these 9 other things. These 9 other things. Stop being so bloody fussy. There's these 9 other things. And then I was like, no, 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 no. This is where I've tripped myself up in the past. No, I will not continue something if it doesn't meet my standards. And it doesn't mean I'm snobby or fussy. It means that I understand how energy works. And if there is something, then I either need to resolve that thing or have a conversation about it or actually just move away. And I've decided, because I don't know this person very well, I've decided to simply just move away from it. And I do have another option that is in alignment. Okay. So the anger is natural, the anger is healthy. And the final piece here is to just make sure you are giving yourself, especially in the luteal phase of your cycle, you are giving yourself the space for that anger release. Private space or, held space. You can come into Quantum Queen, you do breath work for this specific purpose in there. This is what we do. Come into a space where you can be held in your sacred rage or have a space for you where you can let that out. Okay. So we need to healthily let that out, let that come up and out and through, have a place for that. And when these things arise, let that out first, deal with that and regulate the nervous system, and then respond if needed. Okay. Because otherwise, what happens is the anger will come out in the response, and then that will open up this whole can of worms and an energy leak. Okay. So the final part of this is to have that container for the healthy anger, the sacred rage. And if I can support you with that, let me know. This is exactly why we do quantum breath work. So we do the release, we do the sacred rage, and then we move into that space of calling in what is meant for you. Okay. And if you're watching this and you're like, I completely resonate with everything you're saying, and I want to go to that level of depth. Like you get me, and I want to go to that level of depth with you to really understand that for me, for how I can amplify my energy, my strategy, my success as a sensitive leader for the rest of 2026. Then this is where the sensitive leadership reset is coming in. And this is your opportunity to work with me in that space to more deeply understand your sacred yes and your sacred no in your body, the boundaries, the structures, the systems, the void space, the beautiful space of the feminine that you desire, that you require for your most magnificent growth, to create your most magnificent life and business for the rest of this year. Then this is what this is for. You will get a call with me where we're going to deeply go through all of this, and 3 whole VIP one-to-one days in Telegram with me, which alone is worth 10 times the value of this program. Okay. And you're getting a call with me for that as well. So there's just a limited number of spots for a short period of time to do this reset, to reset you for the rest of the year. If I can support you, reach out to me. And thanks for watching and listening, and have a wonderful rest of your week.